Hey, thanks for joining and tuning in right now. I have Mike Amsbaugh here, Waylon's right-hand man on the Medicare side. He's going to go over a couple of things with us today. Kind of go over one, how to make sure you're staying compliant with Medicare. Two, what you need to be prepared with when talking to whether it be a current client or a prospect about Medicare. What you need to make sure that you have everything available. What to ask for, make sure what you got list of, so that way you're not calling the client back and forth, etc. Making yourself look like an idiot. And then going to kind of go over just like intro to sunfire, what you need to do to make sure you're dangerous, how to make sure you're picking the best plan, etc. And just kind of give you guys all the quick do's and don'ts, and then we'll follow this up with any other series that we need to. But we just want to make sure we got something out here today so that I don't have to ask Mike to do this call 3 or 4 times. We've already got it recorded, done, set, and good to go. So, all right, Mike. First thing I want to handle with you on this, current clients. I mean, like I know myself, I've got 600 or 700 right now over the last couple of years doing business. What is the best way really to stay compliant with that?
The good news is, Mike, like we spoke about earlier, you don't have to worry about compliance as far as engaging any of your current book of business. I mean, as long as they're a client of yours. That being said, especially if they're a life client, you can call them and then just bring up Medicare. It's not a big deal. Only thing I would ever say is if you write one of your life clients into a Medicare plan and then they fall off the books, let's say you made it effective for 6/1 next month and they kept it for 30 days. And then as of 7/1, they fall off the books. Technically, once they're out of your book of business for Medicare, you're not really supposed to engage them. That is a compliance thing. So that's one of the reasons why MetaZeus is such a useful tool, because we have in real time within 24 to 48 hours, if your client has signed up for a different plan or has called into the carrier to do a rapid disenrollment, you'll know about it while they're still your client. So you forego having to worry about any kind of compliance, which is, in the past, I have just called them and kind of like, I can see in my portal that they're no longer my client, but I'll call and be like, oh, Miss Betty, hey, I just wanted to call and check up with you and see how you're liking that new Humana plan. If there's any questions or concerns, we can go over them today. And I just kind of played dumb that they weren't in my book of business anymore, but really that's outside of compliance. So I'm not advocating for that. And the good news is we have MetaZeus now, so we don't really need to go that route.
Okay, all right. So MetaZeus, and I assume that MetaZeus is basically just a platform that's out there that myself, all the other agents, once we have an up and rolling book of business, we'll have access to, and then that it'll notify us basically when clients fall off, kind of like
yes, sir. You just run the report on a daily, weekly, whatever basis that you have time, and it will tell you in real time whether somebody in your book is. It's literally checking CMS for you.
Okay, cool. So basically at that point, like we as agents don't actually have to go and input in there. Carriers report to it because of CMS, and we don't have to bother inputting all our people in there. It's just automatically going to find them if we have our writing numbers in there.
No, so you would have to upload your book.
Okay.
Initially, anytime that you add a client to your book of business, you would have to go in and input them. Now you can create a spreadsheet and export it like a CSV file right in. And we have videos that would walk you through all that. So not a problem there.
Perfect. All right, cool. I'll make sure I get all that stuff from you.
Yep.
All right. So we know actually really with existing clientele, there really is nothing for like compliance that we need to be worried about. I know that when you're poaching client, let's say I'm out door knocking right now and I got this stack of lead cards right here, and I'm going to see Miss Betty and all her friends. Let's say I knock at the door. What do I need to do to stay compliant when I'm at the door?
So as long as you have a lead card, that's like our ticket to the party, right? So we're good with that. Now in Ohio happens to be the only state out of our 50 states, you are not allowed to cold knock a Medicare, let's say client, if you're a prospect, Medicare prospect, even for med subs. So in every other state, you are not allowed to cold knock somebody that, like, say you have a data sheet or whatever, and this guy's over 65. You are technically not allowed to go up and knock the door and have a conversation based around Medicare Advantage plans. You are, in fact, are able to go knock and have a conversation about, hey, I'm a local Medicare agent, blah, blah, blah. I see that you're turning 65. However, you got your information, whether it be on a data sheet or whatever. You're allowed to bring up med subs. And that's okay. But in Ohio, you can't. For
Okay.
whatever reason, Ohio does not allow cold knocking and on med subs or Medicare Advantage plans. Every other state, it's just med sub or Medicare Advantage. You can't do that. So, but having a lead gets us around that because we target low income. You know, that's literally our demographic is going to be super low income dual clients, which we are still allowed to. Now that doesn't mean that they're not going to. You're not going to run into people that fill that lead out that don't have Medicaid, but technically those are low income dual client marketing material that we're sending out, and you can knock those.
Okay, let me ask you this. In reference to marketing material, okay, does that apply to digital leads and does it apply to direct mail leads or only direct mail leads that's considered a compliant lead?
Say that one more time.
So, is a digital lead considered a compliant lead? Like, like I'm walking the door and I got a stack of digital leads. Is that considered compliant or does it have to be a direct mail with their signature?
As long as it was marketed towards low income dual clients.
Okay. And obviously, like, again, like, if we own the lead funnel, we would know exactly. But if we're buying the leads, we just have to take it on
Sure.
faith. Hey,
Yep.
like we were under the assumption buying this, that it was marketed correctly. So, all right, cool. All right. So that kind of gives me the answer of what I need to know. Like when you were to walk up to a door, okay, let's say you're going to door knock this Miss Johnson, all right? She's submitted a digital lead. How are you going to cold door knock that door? What are you going to say?
So if you have digital leads, I'm a fan of always printing out anything that I can, even on a digital lead. I love taking a printout up there. I really love DMs because they have the signature on them. But let's just say that what you had was digital. All I reference is who I am, what I'm there to do. I will tell you this, man. A lot of what I say is left open to interpretation, right? You've been a door knocker long enough to know what you say at a door. Isn't necessarily a lie, but you say it in a manner in which it's interpreted a certain way that you want them to take it as. So when I walk up to a door, I knock on the door, Miss Betty opens the door, and I'll be like, "Hey, Miss Betty, my name's Mike. I'm actually a state licensed agent. Again, not a lie, right? I am a state licensed insurance agent, and I have a badge that I've had printed up from a company called Zazzle. Has a picture, has it has my picture, my name, my NPN number on it, and on the back, when you flip it over, it's literally a print or a photo of that's been printed on the license of my actual Ohio Department of Insurance license.
Okay.
And then I show them that, and it builds some level of authority, at the door. They think that I'm, again, a state agent of some sort or a Medicare agent, through Medicare. And really, that's not what I'm saying, but that's how I go about it. Hey, my name is Mike. I'm actually a state licensed agent. The reason why I'm out here, and I will show them my badge, is because you had filled this out looking to see if you qualified for any of the additional programs in your area that help with things like subsidizing the cost of your drugs, food cards, utility cards, rent and mortgage assistance, stuff of that nature. That's what I work with. So when you filled this out, it got kicked over to my office. I got tasked with coming out here to ask you, well, basically what I can do to help you. What were you looking for? What kind of assistance were you looking for?
Okay. Perfect. Cool. And then you're just kind of engaging back and forth from there and just trying to do whatever you can do to get in the door. Okay.
I mean, because I'm not bringing up Medicare at the door. I don't talk about healthcare plans. I'm literally kind of circumventing saying anything that could be considered non-compliant at the door. I mean, you and getting to the table first before we go into anything. And even then, once I sit down, I'm asking Miss Betty, hey, again, Miss Betty, the reason why I'm here is because you had filled this out looking to see if you qualified for any additional assistance with any of these. Do you currently, and here's how I transition into that. Do you currently get any of these benefits, food card, utility card, rent assistance, stuff of that nature, or over-the-counter card? And let Miss Betty bring it up. And she will. She'll be like, oh, yeah, my Aetna Medicare plan has X, Y, and Z built into it, right? Oh, you got Aetna. Great. They're a super good product. I love Aetna. And then just let the conversation flow from there.
And at that point, then you're kind of asking her, so who are you now? Right. And then what medications are you taking? You want to go grab those for me at that point.
Yep.
And then you're kind of just looking at it as, okay, well, that point, how do you make sure? Okay, so you've got Miss Betty's doctors, you've got her red, white, and blue card sitting in front of you, you've got all of her medications. Okay, at that point, are you just like, hey, I want to go through ahead and put you through the system right now just to validate that you're getting all the benefits that you're entitled to based on your status?
Absolutely. So that's basically the next things out of my mouth. Is hey, this only takes me, like I said at the door, 5 or 10 minutes of your time. I'm going to plug this information into our system. They don't know it's Sunfire. They think it's some official government website, right? We're going to plug you into the system real quick. I'll know real quick what you got, and if there's anything you qualify for that you don't have, right? And I pride myself on being the guy that gets it for you. So let me see what I can do. And then I've had a couple times where clients will ask, well, what do you need, my medications and my doctors for? Like I said at the door, I'm trying to see if you qualify for a subsidy on your drugs to get those cheaper for you. So I need to make sure I have all those drugs plugged in. That way I can see if there's any discounts that you qualify for. Okay. That's kind of how I handle that.
Well, I can definitely see how the state is very compliant. All right. So you're not really even bringing up the word like Medicare, like Medicare, Medicare, anything like that, and like really trying to just say off the words, period.
For the biggest reason, Mike, is because doing this as long as I've done it, I realized there are certain times of the year that word would just get me stonewalled. And what I mean by that is, think about, man, AEP, they're getting hounded. You can use the word Medicare and AEP, it's no big deal. You flip into Q1, now you're in OEP. And Q3, Q4, or Q2 and Q3, which I mean, the middle of the year where there's no OEP or AEP, you say the word Medicare, and they've taken 100,000 calls in the last 4 to 5, 6 months, and they don't want to talk about it anymore. But they always want to talk about getting benefits, getting money handed to them, getting things for free. That's why I kind of, how my presentation or my door script kind of evolved into what it is, because I realized a long time ago, the less I say the word Medicare on the door and the more I talk about the free stuff that they can possibly get, the easier it was for me to get in the house.
Right. So let me say this. So let's say you roll up on a house and you can tell the house is worth probably 300-400 grand. Okay. So this isn't going to be your average low income client. How are you spinning this at the door? Are you still pretty much saying the same thing? Are you looking for any subsidies? Because the people that have money, they obviously know that, hey, look, they're not getting subsidies for anything right now. They have they have money, they're paying out of pocket. How are you coming to that door?
So I mean, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because it never fails. Out of every stack of 20 or 30 leads you get, you're going to roll up to a guy's house that you're like, yeah, he does not need to be filling this out. But when they do, I mean, the reality is he did fill it out, whether it's a digital lead or a direct mail lead. So I just go up to the door and I'm just basically say, hey, here's what I do, kind of like I did with Miss Betty. I don't, you won't really get any traction if you start throwing the free stuff at them. Oh, I'm here to see if you qualify for this, this, and this. Well, I know I do. They know they don't. And then they start to look at you like you're scamming them. So I mean, like, I will take that conversation a little bit differently and basically just be very official with them, like who you are, why you're there. Don't throw around the benefit eligibility qualification verbiage so much, and just kind of hit them with hey, I'm out here because you filled this out. You must have been looking to see if you qualified for something or if there was something better than what you currently have. Good news is I work with all of the carriers in your zip code. I can double check your rates real quick and see if there's anything I can do.
That makes sense. All right.
I'm telling you, man, when you knock on a door that's the house with money in it and you start throwing around that, I'm here to see if you qualify for food cards, they'll just shut the door in your face, because
and that's why I brought it up, because they're like, dude, like we don't qualify for freaking anything. Okay, now your average house like that, you say the guys are, they've got a big home when they're like paying out of pocket. Likely, how much are you? And granted, again, every plan is different, so their prescription costs. Generally, how much on average are you saying that they're paying out of pocket just for their plan itself, not even their drugs, stuff like that? Do you see that they're generally paying quite a bit out of pocket, so there is opportunities to get their monthly premium down?
Yes, and we're going to jump into another part of Medicare real quick. I'm gonna do that just to answer your question. But typically, when you go to those houses that have money, let's just say that those people 98% of the time are not on a Medicare Advantage plan. And here's why. They're on a Medicare supplement plan that has a monthly premium. There's two types of secondary coverage. After you get original Medicare, your red, white, and blue A and B card, you can pick up secondary coverage, either a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement plan. The Medicare supplement plans are not free. However, they are, in my eyes, typically a better option, because if they can afford the monthly premium, they never have to worry about paying any doctor bills through the course of the year. They don't have to have referrals. They don't have to pay copays at the doctors. My father, all of my family, again, we're not talking about low income people, they're all in med sup plans. And I guarantee you that 98% of those high dollar homes that you walk up to, they're going to be in med subs, which means they are paying, depends on how long they've been in them, because they're like term products. Every year they reevaluate the premium based on the rate of, you know, healthcare versus their age, right? Obviously, as they get older, healthcare gets more expensive. So every year those med subs go up in price. It's not a set amount. I've seen some jump 3-4%, some of them jump 10-15%. That would be a good thing to leverage at the door. Hey, okay, you're in a med sub. I think those are the Cadillac plans of all plans out there, right? But I bet this last year that one went up on me in price, didn't it? How much was it? So, you know, I mean, you can kind of leverage the premium going up, and they know it is, and sometimes it's still affordable, but I have a way of spinning that back on them when somebody says, oh, I can afford it. I completely understand you can afford it, but the reality is this: it is never going to go up a set amount. It's always, you know, a percentage. And while 10% of $100 premium isn't very much today, 10-15% of a $500 premium here in a few years can be very expensive. And what I advocate for somebody in your situation to do is this: let's see if you qualify for that same plan that you're currently in at a little bit lower rate, because it's like we're resetting that rate calculator to where you're back at a lower premium to give you room to grow, to make sure that you can keep that good plan the rest of your life and it's never unaffordable, right? And I actually have, case in point, I live over here in the Springfield, Ohio area, but I have a lady just by chance. Her name actually is Betty, even though I use that all the time. She seriously, she's 87 years old, was paying over $500 a month for her Mutual of Omaha Plan G. I got her with an Aetna Continental Life underwritten plan. No, yeah, Plan G, and it dropped her premium down to like $300. Literally, it was insane. And she was like, "Here's the crazy part." She was so wealthy that I told her, I said, "Hey, this isn't like a Medicare Advantage plan. When I submit for this one, it doesn't cancel out the other one. You are going to have to call and cancel your old plan effective on the 1st of next month when this new one kicks in." She forgot. 6 months down the road, I get a call. "Hey, Mike." I say, "Hey, Miss Betty, how's it going?" Because I save everybody in my phone. She's like, "I think I forgot to cancel that other plan, and I've been paying 2 premiums, one for 500 and some and one for 300. So I shot over to her house. We called Mutual of Omaha. The good thing is with the med sups, they're very forgiving. Mutual of Omaha literally, as soon as we submitted documentation that she did in fact pick up coverage on such date, they back paid her all of their premiums back, like $3,000 and some dollars.
I just went through this life policy. I sent in a cancellation last year, and like the client called me. She's like, a year later, she's like, "Hey, I got to cancel this. Like, it's new policy I took out with Royal." She was like, I can't afford both. I'm like, "This policy was canceled last year. I sent the paperwork. Called my fax company. I could validate that I sent the fax to them. I just couldn't see the PDF. So we called Omaha. Omaha was like, "Yup, we actually received this. We just literally never did it. They're sending a check for like $1,000. Someone's over the moon."
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, Omaha that stuff. So
yeah.
For the rookies that are kind of listening in right now, Mike, can you go ahead and just give me like the dummy version of what the difference of a med sub and a med advantage plan, so that nobody gets lost here.
I reference them as this: one is pay up front, the other is pay as you go. And what I mean by that is a Medicare supplement plan, the plans A through F, you pay a monthly premium up front. Now, I always try to stick everybody in a G. It has a little bit better benefits built into it, and it also costs a little bit more. But I think the increase in premium is worth basically everything that happens for them through the rest of the course of the year is going to be free. They pay no copays. They don't have to worry about sticking with a network. They can go to any doctor that accepts Medicare as a form of payment for their medical services. So they don't have to have any, they want to go see a specialist tomorrow, they just pick out a cardiologist. They don't have to go through their primary care doctor and go, you know, that whole rigmarole getting referrals to get to no, they'll just literally call their specialist that they want to see and say, "Hey, do you accept this as a form of payment?" "Yep." "Okay, cool. Set me up an appointment." So typically, again, that is pay up front, meaning you pay a monthly premium. One time through the course of the year, you will pay a Part B copay, $250. Other than that, if you ran up $1 million worth of bills, as long as you keep your monthly premium paid and you make your $250 Part B copay for the year, that million is going to be taken care of by whatever med sub company you have. Literally, you don't pay anything, and you don't pay copays at the doctor. Whereas a Medicare Advantage, as good as they are, they're pay as you go, meaning you don't typically pay a monthly premium. depends on the area you're in. I know in more rural areas, they don't have as many plans. It's not as a competitive a market. They have premiums, typically not too high, 20 to 50 bucks, give or take. In my area where I live, every carrier has 8 plans in every zip code, and they're typically all free, free or really low rate, low premium. So I say pay as you go. You typically don't have a premium, but sometimes you can. You have copays, you have doctor bills through the course of the year. The good news is in a Medicare Advantage plan, you have what's called a max out of pocket. Once you hit that, technically everything is taken care of for the rest of the year. So sometimes you have to kind of weigh out, hey, this Anthem Medicare Advantage plan only has a $3,400 moot or max out of pocket, whereas your premium with this plan G maybe more than $3,400. So even though I'm telling you that the MedSup could typically or should be the Cadillac of all plans that are available, sometimes if you get into an area that's very competitive, the max out of pocket on an Advantage plan will be low enough to where, worst case scenario, you have a just catastrophic year health wise. That ceiling, that max out of pocket is a ceiling to where you can't be charged anything above that, right? So that might actually be a lower number than making your $300 a month MedSup premium, So sometimes you got to weigh that out. I know that's kind of an advanced talk that we're having right now that would probably be something we can talk about later on when everybody gets going.
Absolutely. And that's I want to make sure that everybody's kind of really understood like the difference and kind of do it almost in layman's terms. So kind of like nobody's getting confused in the course of any of this. I would just on basic terminologies that we're using, because this is the call is meant to be really intro, a little bit intro for me, and then also just intro for the ones that are new too as well. So all right, cool. So that kind of explains that.
Yeah, I would say the only other thing that I would say about Medicare Advantage plans versus MedSups, when you're aging into Medicare at 65, I would say grandfathered in, that's not the right word, but you're given a free pass to have a MedSup. You could literally be having a heart attack the day of while you're signing, and they won't say no to you. However, if you get past your open enrollment period of 3 months before your 65th birthday and 3 months after, and you try to pick up a MedSup, you then have to health qualify like a life insurance product. So that can factor in sometimes when I sit with somebody who maybe doesn't have a whole lot of money, but they have a little bit of expendable, funds. And I'm like, well, here's the thing, Miss Betty, you've had all these health issues. This might be in your best interest, and here's why. You know what I mean? That way you're not having to worry about covering, a lot of doctor bills through the course of the year. You just keep your monthly premium paid up, right? And that also, like, if you start them into an Advantage plan, technically down the road, and I'll tell them this, I'm like, hey, if we start here, we can always move to an Advantage plan if this premium on the MedSup gets to be too expensive. On the reverse of that, though, a lot of times people are too unhealthy to go from an Advantage plan to a MedSup.
Yeah.
And a Medicare Advantage plan, they never look at your health. They don't care. So that's the difference.
So Med Advantage basically guaranteed acceptance life insurance policy. You're guaranteed to get approved.
Yes.
You have out-of-pocket expense. Okay. MedSup, I almost kind of attribute a lot to like car insurance. The longer you have it, the more it always goes up. You keep getting your renewals. Price goes up and up and up. At some point, you got to shop it and you got to buy a new one. So basically, it's kind of like.
And hopefully you're healthy enough to do so at that point.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. I think that to me, I mean, that really just made it in layman's terms a huge difference as to like how to understand it. Okay. All right. Cool.
Perfect. I would say one more thing on that to simplify it. Think about MedSup underwriting as like a Mutual of Omaha, not the tightest, but certainly not the loosest.
Okay. All right. Cool. So when you're putting people on them, I mean, like if Miss Betty's got congestive heart failure, probably not going to look at a MedSup. Let's probably go look at let's look at a Med Advantage. Okay. On the flip side, if Miss Betty's only on lisinopril and maybe a cholesterol medication, she's probably a great fit for a supplement plan. And we can take a look at it. All right. Now, when you quote out a supplement plan, when you add in Miss Betty's 3 different medications, is it automatically going to take into determination if like that her monthly premium is coinciding with what her health looks like right now, or do we just submit it, quote a rate, and then it goes to the carrier and they make a decision on it, and then we find out if they're accepting her at that rate or if the price is going up?
They don't have like a rate table. It is not based on health. It is based on age and zip code and what plan you're applying her for. That premium will be set in stone. as long as she fits the health guide, the health underwriting, the premium will be just what the premium is.
Okay, so basically, it's one of those like, hey, look, Miss Patty, hey, this premium is going to be exactly what I'm telling you right now that it is. Only reason it's going to differentiate for any reason is if you do not fit within the health parameters. My job here today was to make sure and screen you before to make sure you fit inside those health parameters. If something's going to be different, I'll 1000% notify you ahead of time and we can take a look at it again and see if something else might fit for your budget a little bit better. If not, expect that when I leave the door, this is what you're going to see coming out of your bank account every month.
Perfect.
Cool. Perfect. All right. Now, and you said on the Med Advantage plan, very rarely are those people going to be paying out of pocket. So they generally for the most part have like a 0% like a $0 cost. But sometimes depending on the area, if it's a more rural area, how much can we expect that they might be seeing? Like $100 a month, $30 a month?
I mean, it varies
What
so
have you
drastically. It varies so drastically based on zip code and carrier. Most rural areas, you may see a couple free plans, but most of them are going to be in the $20 to $50 range. You'll see some in the $200-300 range. And I never advocate for putting somebody in those plans. Typically, all you're doing is you're not buying a better plan. The co-pays are going to be the same. The food cards, basically, sometimes you'll get a little bit better food card. And it's like, well, why would you pay more premium just to get your money back when you could have just kept that money in your pocket? So literally, your drugs typically aren't going to be any better or cheaper cost, or neither is your healthcare. It's like you're buying extra dental, extra vision, extra hearing. And in most cases, it's best to just take what comes with the plan and then buy a separate dental, vision, hearing plan to go on top of it. I don't put anybody in any plan premiums and we don't make any extra money on that. It's not like a life insurance policy where we're getting paid off AP, whether I put her in a free plan or $1,000 a month plan, I still get the same amount from CMS every year.
Right. Okay. And that was going to be kind of my next question is, Med Sup to Med Advantage. Is there a difference, or we're paid either way? We're paid by CMS the same amount.
Different. You get paid direct from the carrier based on your contract level with Med Sups.
Okay. All right. Cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas CMS dictates street level on Medicare Advantage plans. We basically have a little bit of leeway with whatever contract we signed with our uplines or whatever carrier we're with as to what we get paid on a Med Sup, right? So most Med Sups, I think, are somewhere in the neighborhood, depending on contract levels. I don't want to throw anything crazy out there. It's not like a life insurance contract. It's not 80, 100, 120 points. It's somewhere in the like 10 to 20 point range.
Okay. All right. And with CMS, they pay, what is it? Flat rate 601.
That would be a true up. It would actually be 611.
611.
It's 307 and 306 on the back end. That would be somebody who is brand new to a Medicare Advantage plan. If somebody has ever been in a Medicare Advantage plan prior to you being in that house and writing them, two different types of pay happens depending on the year. If you're writing them during AEP, which basically you're putting them into the plan at the end of the year that they're going to have starting next year, you make the full amount 307. Right now, if I put somebody in the plan, it's basically I'm putting them into this plan for the rest of the year. It's prorated by however many months are left in the year. Okay. So right now, Medicare Advantage plans are paying somewhere around $150 to $175 a month, or 100 total as an advance.
Okay. Now, if they keep that plan, obviously, our agent is to call them in the beginning of October, which is, I believe, it's October 15th. AEP starts, correct?
Hold on a second. I will correct you. Yes, you are right. Our AEP starts October 15th through December 7th. However, the reason why it starts on the 15th is we get the first 2 weeks of that month to contact our current clients and engage them and go over plans that are going to be available to them per January of 2025, right? So we get 2 weeks where we get to leverage our current book of business and help them shop what plans are going to be available next year. Okay. So technically, October 1, you would be talking to that individual.
Okay, cool. So, and then now, if Ms. Betty renews her plan on December, well, it goes into, it's what, January 1st is when all the new plans actually kick in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when Miss Betty renews on January 1st, we just then get our residual month to month off of that, correct?
like $25.37 or something like that. It goes into residual income.
Yep, barely enough to buy groceries once a day. So, all right, cool, perfect. All right. Now, same thing on the med sup. Your average, let's say your average intro agent on a med sup. What do it's kind of just so I can kind of give people an idea. How do we calculate what a person's going to make roughly on a med sup?
It is AP driven, and then whatever contract level you're at, whether it be 10, 15, 20%, whatever the case may be.
Okay, so let's say somebody is at is it derived off of annual premium?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say that that person is their annual premium is 1800, and they've
Yep.
got, let's say, a 20% Medicare contract. Seem about reasonable for your average starting agent, 20%.
Could be, yeah. Yeah.
So that person is going to make $360. All right.
Yep.
Now, is that prorated on where they are in the year, or that at their renewal date is just like a car insurance renewal date? It's March to March, April to April, something like that.
Yes. It is not prorated. It's just like a life insurance advance. And then your rolling 12-month or going into renewals in the 13th month is from like whatever date they signed up for that date next year, right? Does that make sense? Am I explaining? Okay.
No, absolutely. And then after that, you just got a small residual on that med. So you're gonna
Yes.
so it's it's advantageous, great, because it's just like like doing med advantage plans, helping you build residuals, but it's not going to be anything crazy, correct?
The best part about no, it's not. But the best part about your med sup plans, it's so sticky business, man. Those guys typically, again, they're not the I need to worry about saving a buck or two every year, so they're not out shopping. And most of the time, within a few minutes, you think about it, we're putting them these med sup plans in people that are 65 and older. If they qualify today, there's a likelihood within a year or two their health has changed and they don't qualify for a move, and they're basically stuck. I hate to say it like that, but they're stuck in your book of business in that med sup for the rest of their life now. So you can just bank on that money.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm not even gonna get into ACA. I'm not gonna get any of that stuff today. ACA is a whole different animal. I don't plan on touching ACA right now. What I would like to cover right now, before we actually jump into Sunfire and kind of how do we base this presentation, we'll kind of run through a dummy, like a dumb one or two dummy ones. What I would like to do is something I ran into a handful of times right now recently since I'm in the field. Let's say somebody they are on Medicare and they're on Medicaid. All right. And they've already got, I think it's like right now, like Humana is the one that's got the $190 a month food card, right? I believe.
That's based on your area.
Okay.
In my area, it's way higher.
But again, I could be wrong. Okay. When we are sitting down with a person who's got Medicare and Medicaid, what are those targeting points that we should, obviously, we're talking about the door of the Medicaid. Oh, I'm already on Medicare and Medicaid. What are those targeting points we need to be hammering off right away? Utility assistance, housing assistance, food assistance, stuff like that. Those are the things that are there.
I mean, literally in a dual plan, that's the differentiating factor. Because they have Medicaid, because they have Medicare, unless they're on a very low level of Medicaid, they will not have any cost sharing, meaning co-pays or co-insurances for their health care. Everything will be free. The only thing that's going to differentiate from plan to plan when you're looking to make a move is who's going to give them the most free stuff.
Okay, cool. And basically, so that's where our job as an agent is. Okay, so I'm sitting down with Miss Betty. I'm like, hey, Miss Betty, cool, you're in this United Healthcare plan. This is what you're getting right now. This Humana plan right now is going to give you all this plus this. All right. So those people that are shopping Advantage plans, if they're already in right now, especially if they're dual eligibility, those people are basically just trying to get every ounce of free benefit that they can squeeze out every month. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. And that's why Med Advantage plans are on a set, you get paid a set amount because they know people are going to obviously change those. All right. Now, with Medicare, all right, let's say Miss Betty Key, I sign her up in Humana. It's March. Okay. I get paid through like that's like I'd be 9 months left of the year. So I only get paid for like the 7 months between March and October.
Yeah, let's say you make 120 or 225 off that policy.
Okay, so I make 125. Okay, we're 3 months into this. Miss Betty cancels the policy. All right, I owe the rest back to Humana, or not technically CMS, correct?
No, technically Humana at that point, because
Okay,
Humana is the one that's paying you for that business.
okay, cool. All right, so
As
that
long as you're, yeah. But you don't owe a full chargeback with Medicare. It is prorated,
okay.
and once you get past 3 months, there's no chargeback.
Okay, so basically, anybody listening right now, when you guys write a personal okay, granted, this is not me or Mike by any means telling you guys to go switch clients every 3 months and put them in a new plan. All right, we're not telling this right now. After 3 months, that this is where the no chargeback rule applies. Um, don't flip your book every 3 months. You're gonna piss somebody off, and you're gonna get caught doing it, and you're not gonna be happy when they pull your health insurance license. So
And really, man, I've had agents in the past that's what they would do. Every AEP, they would go rewrite it because they're getting that big, huge bag of money in January, right? And then they would call me, come March, and they're like, "Man, I'm struggling. I used all that money." Well, why did you go flip all those clients when you could now have been building residual income? To me, that's what healthcare is. It's my retirement. Life insurance pays the bills, keeps the lights on, keeps the gas in the car because you get those big advances. Medicare pays you a renewal, and it's the greatest insurance product that I know of because it's the only one that I know of that pays you the same year one as it does year 2, 3, 4. Obviously, it's not huge, but they all add up. And I keep telling these agents, like, man, you got to let some of that business go into renewals. That way, you're getting like, I just got a deposit from United Healthcare today, and I'm not trying to be showboaty. It pays all my bills for the month. You know what I mean? For letting that roll for the course of 4 years that I've been doing this now. I've just got, and United Healthcare is one of my biggest books of business. But yeah, it's like if sure, I'm sure it's nice to have that big advance in January if you go out and flip your whole book in AEP to something different. I just got to a point where, and I guess everybody's financial situation is different, right? You might need that capital to keep going to buy leads and do whatever you're going to do. I've worked myself into a position where I didn't need to do that. And I just started letting everything. I try to keep clients in the plan as long as I can. That way I keep my residuals growing.
and that's for me. That was the reason I wanted to get in this. Like it wasn't. I did. I look at things the exact same way. That life insurance and annuities pay my bills. All right, that keeps me well fed, and the lights are on at home. All right. What I really want is the residuals every month. That picks up stuff that I didn't have and allows me to plan for retirement and just do other things that sometimes your months are up and down with life. You might write 21 grand one month. You might write 40 grand one month. The next month you write like five, and then all of a sudden your months even out. So that's the biggest thing I want is for the ability to plan for retirement. So that's myself, and I think that every person listening in on this video today probably should really have that standpoint. I know that myself or Waylon, we probably catching you flipping your book every 3 months or every year, rolling the whole thing. We're probably gonna have a conversation with you about why you're doing that. So because it's always got to be what's in the best interest of the client, especially with
For
Medicare. That's probably the biggest reason I stayed away for as long as I did is just because I looked at it and I'd heard so many horror stories of sitting with people, whether what part of the business I've been in. I've been 11 years. So many horror stories about people just like, oh man, like I got in this Humana plan, this United plan, and it sucks. I was so much better off with my other one. I stayed away from Medicare for that long, but now I'm just looking at it like I look at Whale and everybody else. I'm like, God, like I've missed too much opportunity, and I look back at the last 3 years of my career just solely in life, and I'm like, damn, like I turned down so much money by walking away from it through the last 3 years. So